Carlos Nelson with Cascade Sports, and tonight we're here with one of my friends and fraternity brother, Michael Watson. How you doing, Mike?
Doing well, thank you.
Reason I have Mike here tonight is, as most people that follow Cascade Sports know, we do a prodigious amount of interviews and so forth. And over the last 2019, I decided that every time I do interviews with my athletes, no matter whether they're football, track, or basketball, I'm always asking them to give the props to the coaches that help them build their skill set to whatever level they're at. And there are a couple of coaches that have really come out with a lot of kids saying, well, I trained under this one or I trained under that one. And Coach Watson, he quite a few kids, and I said I wanted to have him on the show. Been trying to have him on the show to talk about his career, talk about his involvement with media, and what he's doing with his biddy team. Hey, Mike, so running on down to our audience, mention some of the things that I just talked to you about.
No, and first of all, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Everybody who kind of threw my name in the hat. For me, I look at it as a labor of love. Since I retired and moved back to Kansas City, having the ability to work with young people who are, love the game of basketball, who love sports in general. So we started Mentality by Michael Watson about 4 years ago, just to really focus on the mental aspect of the games, no matter if it's basketball, football, or volleyball, track and field. We want the kids to understand how important it is to have the mental fortitude and toughness to really compete at the highest level. And so we have 9 boys teams. We have
that's what I was going to.
Yeah, we have nine youth boys basketball teams.
What's the age?
We start at K1, so we start 5, 6 years old up until 9th grade, which is our 2023 elite team, which is a nationally ranked team in the country. It's the best team by far in the region, the A-State area. And so we have guys like Alex Gunnels from Kaufman School right across the street.
Doing them today.
Yeah, number 1 player in the 2023 class. We have guys like Devin and Darren Conley who go to Pembroke.
We just did interviews with them.
We got kids at Staley, Ben Miller, Larry Parker.
How good are those kids? How good are them Conley boys? That's what I want to know.
Hey, man, they're better than people
giving them.
know.
All right.
People don't really know about them, and I think especially Diesel is they're twins. People don't realize that they're fraternal twins, and so they've grown the last 3 seasons. We've had them. Their fight, their passion. Devin's a shooter. He's the point guard shooter.
Freshman, that I might add. When I did the interview with him, and I was like, do you get any playing time? He looked at me like, what are you talking about, Mr. Nelson?
He's a starter, bro.
Right.
There's 3 Conley brothers.
Right. The other one was on the bench, and it was my understanding, and I put this out there, I don't even care. Oh, he's too aggressive. I'm like, what sport are you playing?
Well, Quentin Conley's one of the top football recruits out of the area. He has major offers from Mizzou, Nebraska, Notre Dame, K-State. He's a phenomenal wide receiver, so he can go. All
right, so you were mentioning some other players that our audience might need to.
Oh no, you got to know Kyan Evans up at Staley. He's a freshman starting point guard up there. He plays 16U from Mocan, so another great organization in the city. He puts in work. Then we have guys on our team. Marion Swift, he goes to center, high school. We have Wes Hughes at Oak Park. We have Devin Frost at Blue Springs South, Jonathan Lee at Blue Springs. So we're not only in the city, we're around the metro area, which is something that I love. It's a variegated group, so they get a chance to interact with different cultures, different way of life, different backgrounds. But I think that's what basketball and sports really should teach you, is how to go out into the world and be a productive citizen.
How did you come up with that? When I seen you with the T-shirts and the hoodies and the different things and seeing people wearing your
Mm-hmm.
I was like, how did he come up with that and sports? But now you explain. Run it down.
For me, it was all about, my best friend Marcus Hunter is really the reason we even started a program. And we talked about the reasons why we would do it. I'm not in it for money. I'm not in it for accolades. I don't even like to be called a coach. I'm one of those guys. I'm a father.
That's what you said off camera.
Yeah, I'm a father figure to these guys, a big brother to most of them, and for me, it's about get them to understand the opportunities that they have before them playing sports, because what it did for my life. And so we came up with mentality because I felt like that's what separates good from great. If you have the mindset and the mentality to go out there and to persevere and to endure, to meet obstacles and to figure out a way through them, not around them, that is what will make you great on the court, on the field, but also more importantly to me, sets you up for life. And I think that's what sports...
Your personal skill sets, yeah.
Sure.
For my audience, if you know who Charlie Rose is, they've taken him off the air, but about 10 years ago, I'm looking at them, and he has the top 10 CEOs in the nation, and they all talked about the common thing that they had. They all played sports, and how sports teaches you what you just said, mental toughness. It teaches you not to quit, and all of them have that in common. And that sports transitions into your regular life.
Right, for sure. I mean, we have guys, and the thing I love about it is we've been around long enough now. We've seen them go from point A to point B. But their mindset, their mentality, their ferociousness has grown. Maddox Bristow at Truman, he's one of our lone white boys. Him and Tayton Edenfield from Wichita.
What does he play?
He's a guard. He's a shooting guard.
1 to 10, how you rating him?
Oh, Maddox?
Yeah.
I'm giving him 8.5.
All right.
I'm giving him 8.5 easily. He's one of those guys. He doesn't look like he'll do anything, but he'll go out there and give you buckets. Tate Edenfield's from Wichita, so he comes up, plays on our team.
What school does he go to?
Tate is at, I believe he's at Andover.
All right, because my partner, Eric King, just, no, he's not at Wichita.
Oh, he's at
Topeka, right? I'm thinking.
I know Coach King.
Yeah, Coach called me last night, told me he had a big win and blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Good guy. Coach. I've known Coach King since I was about 17 years old.
All right.
Great guy. Great guy.
Right. Now, run it down a little bit about your media career.
Well, I retired from professional sports about 9 years ago now, and then before that.
And who were you playing? Go there.
I came out of Central. I went to Central High School, went to UMKC, where I played for 4 years.
Who did you come out under Central?
Central Jack Bush, the legendary Jack Bush.
All right, and like I do all my high school ballers. Tell me who helped you build your skill set. Run that down from your bitty. Coaches their props.
Respect. Oh no, my first coach is Harold Johnson, Kansas City Keys. I'm a Key for life, and so he was one of the first guys who like I do now, will come and pick me up. Single parent homes, he would come pick me up for practice, drop me off. I got to see how he dealt with his family.
Donald's coming on Friday.
So you got Dominique Johnson, that's my little brother, DeAndre Johnson. So you had guys like like Harold Johnson. Then I had guys who I looked to like Nody Newton. Guys like
Nody, excellent coach, works excellent with them young kids.
Yeah, Al Collins and Al Collins Jr. Myron Piggy. That I came up and played for those guys, and we played with CMH and the 76ers, and you had talent around you who you looked up to: Earl Watson, Jerron Rush, Kareem Rush, Joe Macklin. You had phenomenal athletes from the area. So if you didn't learn, you had opportunities to sit there and soak it up. And so the coaches put the ball in our hands, but they really gave us the keys to the car and said, this is your journey. You got to take you got to run with it. And so it's really just the from one hand to the next, giving it back to this next generation. Being 40 years old, dang near, and understanding that life goes fast. There's opportunities to play basketball. That chapter is super small in your life. And so you get to the point, you got, men like you who you've seen it, and so now getting to the point to where you've seen enough to know what will happen.
Let me tell you, I love that you are so intelligent. I'm serious. How you're breaking this down. A lot of people don't understand. Just the other day you were in high school.
Literally.
Yeah, and just the other day you were playing pro ball, and then you transferred. Now here.
It goes. It's a chapter. It's a chapter. If you're lucky enough, you're lucky and blessed enough, you get a few novels. after those chapters, after those books are written. And then if you're really blessed enough, you get to go back and read them, and proofread them,
Excellent.
And that's what I tell our kids, like, make the most of every opportunity. I'm a believer, so I'm like, this opportunity that's before you guys, you're not going to get it again.
How do you see the overall cohesion? Off camera, I talked to you about the City Fountain Coaches Association, and I thought it was very important for coaches that look like you and myself to come together and have their own association, so that a lot of the athletes come from our communities.
Yeah, 90% of.
All right, and I think that we should be able to play a significant role in how those athletes are developed and treated and get the exposure.
I think it's double. I think it's double fold, and here's why. I feel like one, if we don't create the platforms for them to be successful, we can't be upset when they go to the Bishop Miages and they go out to the Blue Valley and play. They want to play with better opportunities. Every parent wants their kid to have better than what they had, and so if we're not able to do that in KCPS and KCKPS. Then you have a lot of charter schools that are popping up. If we're not able to do that, we can't fault our kids for going out there and taking advantage of those. I'm from a different mindset, though. I grew up on 36th and Montgomery Prospect.
Oh,
so
boy.
For me, it was all.
I am KC. That's you.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm Kansas City. So for me, it's a little different. But at the same time, I understand why these kids do it. I'm not mad at the Bishop Miage coach for coming in and seeing the talent that these guys have, and then putting them on platforms to be able to be seen and get scholarships and get their school paid for, which sets you up for the rest of your life.
Right.
So I ain't mad at that. You know what I mean? But I wish we had better situations in the city for our athletics programs, because, like you said, we do have some of the best athletes in the state, but we don't know about them. Someone asked me the other day about IL kids, and I felt bad because I couldn't name one IL boys basketball player of any significance. Not from Central, not from Lincoln, not from any school. There's not a knock on those kids. I'm sure it's some really good kids, but I couldn't tell.
It's the exposure.
No exposure.
And
I'm in media, and I cover high school sports for the most part. So it's like I can tell you about the guys who are getting looks at the freshman level and sophomore and top players in the country who are right out of Kansas City and the surrounding areas. But just for us in the city, it was discouraging because I'm like, I couldn't even name them. There's no team in the top 30. It's like you don't know who they are, and next thing you know, they're done with school. They're not getting the looks that they had. They're not ACT scores.
All right, now I want to go to another thing. All right. Right now, and I'm putting you on the spot because I want you to get involved in our exposure camp. Last April 8th, we did an exposure camp, partnered with the Kansas City School District. And for you audience, you can go to Cascade Sports. You can see the whole exposure camp. You can see interviews with all the coaches that came from out of town. You can see we had about 30 girls and about 35 boys, and they were from seniors to JUCO kids that needed scholarships. 7 of the kids got scholarships from that event, and we have it this year again. And that's the City of Fountain Coaches Association, which Coach Reginald Ramsey is the director. I'd like to make that a larger pool of kids, and we did 7 scholarships last year, and I'd like to do 25 this year, and getting with coaches like yourself to talk to coaches that from out of state and what have you, because a lot of our kids, you talked about the grades, and Cascade Sports is home of student athlete. A lot of kids could be good athletes but don't have the grades, right,
Student part of that student athlete,
and need to go to a JUCO,
right.
And so forth, but you got to give them the opportunity, and so I'm going to be asking you to help work with that, because it's something for the Kansas City athletes, that you could be the greatest athlete in the world, but if you don't have them grades,
don't matter.
Those coaches are not putting their careers, because they're not like Michael doing it for the love of the game. They're there, that's how they earn their living.
Right.
And you go, they give you a scholarship and you fail off the team.
Looks bad on them.
looks bad, they're not going to be there long.
That's true. Very true.
So now what I want you to talk about is your media career.
No, I mean I was blessed to come up during the era of Metro Sports. So when I was 14, 15, I was on TV in high school. I started at Lincoln Prep, 6th to 10th grade, then transferred to Central my junior and senior year. So I got a chance to be around media at an early age, understand interviewing, how to talk, how to enunciate, how to look at the camera, things like that from a really early age. So when I got those relationships, I built my network. I teach our kids about that now. Your network is just as important as your net worth. And so
it's your wallet.
That's it. It's your wallet. And so every move that I made from picking the school that I went to was strategic, was a part of my network, which would later be my net worth.
Do you see, like I asked the kids when I can remember, are you a student of the game? Do you see that the kids that are coming up now understand what you just talked about? You made strategic moves and what have you. Do you see them looking at that, or do you see them looking, if I'm the good ball player, I don't have to worry about nothing?
Well, it depends on who's in your life, and I think that's more important than anything. A lot of the kids now have handlers, and they have people who are there for the purpose of doing well on the back of that kid, and making a name on the back of that kid, or living their life that they didn't have through basketball or whatever sport through that kid.
How do you see that?
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Right. Because that's exactly how I've seen a lot of things taking place. And the parents are really not educated.
They don't understand it.
They think they got the next Michael Jordan, and whatever you tell me to do, I'm going to be trying to do.
Well, it's a $1 billion industry, Carlos. I feel like you got to understand when you go out there and in the summer travel teams, and my big bro Earl Watson talks about it all the time. It's a business, and so these guys who are in my positions, like myself, who are privileged to coach, are privileged to pour into the lives of these kids, then are using that to fund to fund their own lifestyle, their own living. For me, I never had to do that. I was a professional athlete for a long time. Financially, I always did well. And so I don't have a kid on the team. So I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to wanting my son to play more than this kid or things like that. But what I see is a lot of coaches who didn't make it for whatever reason to the level that they thought they should have made it in their own basketball life, then are coaching now and are trying to live that life through that kid, which is not about that kid, it's about them. And unfortunately, you see guys who are great and they're touted in 3rd, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, but you hear nothing about them sophomore or junior year. They're just a regular old run-of-the-mill player, and now their coach has moved on to the next,
right.
And so for me, it's unfortunate to see, and that's why I really give our parents a lot of credit, because I tell them, I'm saying, hey, I'm coaching your kid, I'm giving your kid life lessons, but it's still your kid, so we have to work together. The decisions we make with our team are going to affect your kids, so I'm going to need you to be involved in that part of the process of it. Trust me on the court, I trust you at home, we put it together, and hopefully we get these kids scholarships, because that's the end goal. You're investing into your kid in this summer travel AAU basketball stuff, because one day you want a coach to come and say, I like your kid enough, I'm going to offer him a scholarship that's going to put money in his pocket for the rest of his life because of that slip of paper. and that's the end game. What 1% go on and play professional sports, whether it be NBA, whether it be overseas. I saw with the Boston Celtics as a free agent, so I had a guaranteed contract after college, played ball, then got cut, got my money, went overseas. Had a great career in my home island of Puerto Rico and played all over Europe.
That's where you played. You played for Puerto Rico?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. Yeah. When I first really started doing Cascade Sports, and I didn't know Mike and what have you, but he was the main shining star from Kansas City. And I called you, I said, Mike, can I use some of your overseas play to put on our network?
Of course, I do. I mean, for me, it's always all about, for me personally, making sure the next person has better opportunities than I had. I don't care what it is, where it's at. If I can do it, I can do it. And that's literally what it's about, because no one's going to care how many points I scored. No one's going to care. They're going to care about how I impacted their life. And that's really what it's all about, and that's what I teach my own children. I have 2 daughters in college, and so for me,
You got a lovely family. I seen you.
I do. I'm lucky, you know.
And one thing I will say, you've been grateful, humble about that.
Oh man,
because I surfed the net. I've been watching everything y'all do.
I done been around long enough to see it be the other way, you know, and so to be able to have good kids, be able to pour into their life and they listen to you, you know, not only in your own house but outside of your house. That's a blessing. When someone actually sits down and listens to you and nods and agrees and can regurgitate. I've lived long enough now to where I had kids when they were kids. Now they're old enough and they're married and they
got kids. That's
the
way
I'm at. And they were in my camps as little kids. They were my ball boys and ball girls. And now they're realtors. And now they're, you know, politicians and they're in, you know,
different positions.
They're doing great work. And I'm like, man, where did those 40 years, you know, of my life go? But it's worth it if that is what, you know,
the
opportunity to produce, for sure.
Yeah, well, man, this has really been a pleasure having you on the show, Mike, and I'm looking for you to come back. And as we always say, when you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Thank you.
This program is brought to you by the City of Fountains Coaches Association.